Under the scorching sun of Ilesa town, the bustling market was alive with shouting traders and chattering buyers. Adebisi moved through the crowd, her mind elsewhere, feeling like a stranger in her own town. Nothing seemed right since her parents' funeral the week before. As she glanced around, a familiar voice cut through the noise. "Adebisi, you're back?" It was her childhood friend, Kehinde. "And?" Adebisi nodded, forcing a smile. "I'm back." "How is it being home again?" Kehinde asked, concern lining her face. Adebisi hesitated. "It's different. Everything's changed." That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Adebisi wandered to her family's old compound. The house stood quiet, wrapped in memories yet empty of life. She pushed the gate open and saw her cousin, Folashade, stepping out. Folashade greeted her with a half-hearted hug. You didn't call before coming?" "I wanted to surprise everyone," Adebisi replied. Folashade's eyes flickered with something Adebisi couldn't place. It's good. We've all been busy with the arrangements." "Arrangements?" Adebisi thought. Something felt off. Inside the compound, Adebisi noticed several changes. New furniture, fresh paint. It felt like a stranger's home. Her uncles and aunts sat around whispering among themselves. The air was thick with unspoken tension. Uncle Bayo broke the silence. "Adebisi, come sit. We need to discuss the properties." Adebisi's heart skipped. "Properties?" "Yes, your father's properties," Uncle Bayo replied, his tone cool. She suddenly felt a knot in her stomach. As the meeting began, everyone spoke, but no one seemed to look her in the eye. They talked about decisions already made, about land, about the house, about things that were hers. Adebisi listened, her fingers clenched, feeling utterly powerless. "How come no one informed me?" she questioned, her voice rising. Folashade looked away. "Well, you were abroad. It was hard to reach you." "Adebisi, we thought you wouldn't be returning," Uncle Bayo added, shrugging. The room fell silent. Betrayed by her own blood, Adebisi felt the hurt deepen. Later that night, unable to sleep, Adebisi sat outside, wrapped in her thoughts. The betrayal was heavy. Her mind swirled with questions. "How could they do this?" she whispered into the darkness. Kehinde sat beside her, having followed after hearing the argument. "I'm sorry, Adebisi. I didn't even know." Adebisi sighed. "I thought family protects you. This feels like a nightmare." Kehinde patted her hand, offering silent support. The next day brought more unsettling news. Gossip spread around town about the properties having new owners already. At the market, whispers followed Adebisi like shadows. She returned too late, she overheard someone say. "She has nothing now," another murmured. Adebisi kept her head high, but each word was a fresh wound. She could hear her father's voice reminding her to be strong, yet she felt like crumbling. In an attempt to find solace, Adebisi wandered to her family's graves in the village. Standing there, a wave of emotions overwhelmed her. "I'm lost without you," she sobbed, looking at her parents' graves. "They've taken everything, and I don't know what to do." The stillness of the cemetery offered no answers. As Adebisi returned to the house, she overheard her uncles talking, their voices low but clear enough. They spoke of the new buyer, someone named Chief Durojaye. "Why him?" Adebisi wondered aloud, storming in. "This is how things are done," Uncle Bayo said dismissively. "No, this is betrayal," Adebisi challenged. "Father would never allow this." Uncle Bayo laughed dryly. "Your father is gone." The words cut deeper than she could imagine. Desperation led Adebisi to seek counsel from an old family friend, Baba Kola. She explained the situation, her fears, and her desire for justice. Baba Kola listened, nodding thoughtfully. "You have a right to fight, Adebisi, but are you ready for the consequences?" "I've lost everything already," she replied. "What more can they take?" Baba Kola sighed. "Then you must be smart. Speak softly but carry a big stick." The plan began to take shape. With Kehinde's help, Adebisi started gathering information, quietly visiting old family allies and known associates of Chief Durojaye. The challenge was steep, but Adebisi's resolve was unyielding. "I won't give up," she told Kehinde firmly. "I'll make them see the truth." One evening, Adebisi overheard a conversation between Folashade and Chief Durojaye in the market. She hid behind a stall, heart pounding as they discussed the finalizing of the property papers. Everything must be perfect by the funeral, Chief Durojaye instructed. Realization hit Adebisi like a flash. The funeral was just a guise, a way to seal the betrayal under everyone's noses. Fueled by fresh anger, Adebisi confronted Folashade that night. "How much did he pay you?" Folashade's eyes widened. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't lie to me!" Adebisi shouted, raw emotion filling her voice. "They offered us security, Adebisi," Folashade finally admitted, her voice cracking. "We didn't have a choice." Adebisi stepped back, disgusted. "There's always a choice," she spat, turning away. As the funeral day approached, tension simmered below the surface. Adebisi laid low, careful to not reveal her hand too soon. She spent each day crafting her approach, seeking the right allies to expose the rotten deeds without warning. The funeral day arrived under a gray sky. Adebisi, dressed in mourning, slipped into the gathering like a shadow, the table laden with food, the sound of people talking softly, all of it felt tainted to her. Faces were masks, and kind words were daggers. Amongst the mourners, she spotted Chief Durojaye standing smugly beside her uncles. Fury boiled within her, but she held it tight. The time was near. As the ceremony ended, Adebisi moved, heart pounding, towards the feast table. She picked up a plate, eyes scanning the crowd, catching whispers meant to remain hidden. Then, she saw the photo on the coffin. Not her father's, but her own. The revelation hit her hard. She gasped, dropping the plate. Chaos erupted as all eyes turned to her, the serpent in her own den. Her voice rose above the noise, shaking with emotion. "To those who buried me before my time, be ready. The truth will rise." The commotion silenced. Eyes turned, whispers fled. Unnerved, but determined, Adebisi confronted her silent foes. The silence settled like dust after Adebisi's revelation. Her heart pounded violently in her chest. Kehinde, standing at the back, caught her eye. A slight, encouraging nod fortified her resolve. She turned to address the crowd, her voice steely. "This is not just my story. It's the story of anyone who has ever been wronged by those they trust." Uncle Bayo shifted uncomfortably, while Folashade's eyes brimmed with tears and unresolved emotions. Chief Durojaye crossed his arms, his face turning to stone, the strength of his presence faltering like light bending under a weight. Adebisi stepped closer to the front, meeting Chief Durojaye's cold stare evenly. "You've orchestrated deceit and stolen my legacy. I might have been abroad, but my rights were never yours to take." "I did what was necessary," Chief Durojaye replied, unfazed externally, yet Adebisi could sense a shift in his tone. There was a flicker of doubt. "It was never about necessary actions," she countered, her voice gaining strength from the rising murmurs of agreement. "It was about greed. All of you chose to serve yourselves rather than honor the dead." Her words struck a chord. A somber acknowledgement crept among the gathering, an uncomfortable reflection of what they had silently condoned. As Chief Durojaye opened his mouth to retort, Adebisi's uncles began to bicker amongst themselves, blaming one another. Accusations flew, growing louder and more chaotic, until Uncle Bayo's voice cut through, desperate and panicked. "It was Folashade's fault. She approved the sale, saying Adebisi would never know." Folashade gasped, the air leaving her lungs in a painful whoosh. "You spineless coward!" she cried. "You all knew we had no choice." "You had a choice, and you chose wrong," Adebisi snapped, perhaps sharper than she intended. An elder woman, Iya Oge, who had known Adebisi's family for generations, moved to her side despite her frailty. She lifted her voice gently above the turmoil. "The dead do not speak to defend themselves, but their silence is loud to those who disrespect the living." The crowd fell peculiarly quiet, absorbing the elder's wisdom. A period of introspection flickered in and about the eyes of the guilty. "You all here," Iya Oge continued, addressing the crowd with a stern yet compassionate presence. "There's no peace in stolen gains." Kehinde, standing beside Adebisi, whispered, "Is this what you want? To let them destroy themselves?" Adebisi turned, her eyes stressed but focused. "I want justice, Kehinde, but not without revealing the roots of it." Her voice faltered. These words tasted sour. "They say vengeance is sweet," Kehinde murmured. "But really, it's poison to all." This struck a chord with Adebisi, her heart torn in multiple directions. Kehinde's quiet wisdom began to melt her icy resolve. The crowd's eyes were fixed on Adebisi, and a war raged within her. The promise of vengeance was intoxicating, but the pastor's words stirred something deeper, something she couldn't yet identify as freedom. Chief Dorojaye mocked softly. "Naive words, Pastor." "Perhaps," Baba Femi replied calmly, "but isn't it more naive to believe peace is born of retribution?" Adebisi remained rooted, slowly absorbing the weight of those words. They nestled somewhere within her, a truth both unsettling and illuminating. Under the oppressive heat and judgmental gazes, Adebisi turned to her family, seeing not adversaries, but flawed, frightened humans defending illusions of security. She hadn't yet forgiven them, but something akin to grace began to uncoil in her spirit, challenging her anger with dreams of reconciliation. Her heart had led her to a crossroad, the choice between gratifying vengeance and the harder, nobler path of faith. Baba Femi gently approached, placing a well-worn Bible into Adebisi's hands. "Ephesians 4:32, he whispered. "Be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other, just as in Christ God forgave you." The words hit her with unexpected warmth, like rain on parched soil. Her fingers traced the outlined words. What she began to understand profoundly alarmed her. Forgiveness was not absolving their betrayal, but releasing herself from its grasp. The pastor's insight illuminated a pathway shrouded in darkness. As the ceremony shifted towards closure, Adebisi rose, taller this time, her bravery an internal awakening. "Chief Durajaye, return what's stolen," she demanded, resolute yet removed from malice. Chief Durajaye hesitated, his ego dented by the public's witness, yet the ground seemed to shift beneath his feet, the justice undeniable. As families departed, an uneasy fragmentation in the air, Kehinde remained at her side. "You're letting go of strings they sought to bind you with," she murmured, admiration clear in her tone. Adebisi felt a burden lift, yet with it came the understanding of permanence in her choice. "Letting go doesn't negate the hurt," she replied slowly. "But I see now the freedom in loosening its grip." Turning back one last time to the house of her childhood, Adebisi whispered a prayer for strength and healing. Walking away with the rhythmic hum of whispered Pentecostal songs stirring somewhere deep within her, she opened herself to an unfamiliar path, the one Jesus urged her to take. Her family stood by the road, leaving behind the brittle shadows of anger. Words unspoken passed between them as they watched her, understanding the divide wasn't final, but transformative. Adebisi nodded towards Folashade, a tentative promise of reconciliation held in the softness of her eyes. Chief Durohaye's rigid demeanor cracked as he accepted his role's inevitable correction. Uncle Bayo gestured, breaking their silence. "Adebisi, perhaps someday we can earn our way back to you?" Adebisi's heart swelled with an audacious hope. "Perhaps through love," she answered softly, a hand clutching the aging Bible. Not every scar healed, not every heart reconciled, but there beneath the Yoruba sun, a new story unfurled, bathed in the light of merciful forgiveness. As she walked away, a tear danced down her cheek, not of sorrow, but of fragile joy. Through love, through forgiveness, every step took her closer to Christ, every scar a testament of his redeeming grace.
Thank you so much for listening to this intriguing story. I hope it touched you or taught you something. For more stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the page. And guys, if you'd like to see a part 2, or you have thoughts on what happened, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.